Good evening, and you are very welcome to the latest round of the RTA IndyCar Championship in association with Gantry TV. And after some fantastic racing over the last number of weeks, we are now to the fifth round of this season. A fifth round that brings us to the lovely state of Ohio and the Mid-Ohio track. We are on the east coast last week. We're now to the middle of the United States, to the corn-growing country. So from Daytona in Florida, we head upstate to the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Circuit. A superb IMSA-inspired and IMSA-used track here in the middle of United States. It's 2.258 miles, 13 turns. Will Powers is the race lap record holder. Australia's Will Power with 105.2 in the Dallara DW12. We are in the IR18, the latest version of it, and we are in the middle of what is proving to be an extremely exciting championship here in the latest round of the RTA Virtual Motorsport Championship. My name is Kevin Galvin. I'm joined by Evan Dalton here. We are in the town of Lexington, Ohio, at an altitude of 1,444 feet. And once again, we have some clouds, but mainly sunny skies, temperature of 20 degrees, and a track temperature of 40 degrees here in the middle of America's breadbasket. Evan, thank you so much for joining me. Apologies again for my absence last week, but really looking forward to this one. Series is shaping up exceptionally well, and another fascinating evening last week in Daytona.
Yeah, hi Kevin. Hello everybody watching along. It's a pleasure to be back. We have a totally different challenge this week to what we've had for the last 2 weeks, where we're at the big ovals and rovals. We're back to almost grassroots racing, which will be more familiar to some here at the fabulous Mid-Ohio Sports Course, the circuit that hosted its first kart race, which is IndyCar, all the way back in 1980, and it was held annually until 2003, and then from 2007 we're back with smooth running. There's been some fabulous races here in the recent past, as well as 2 weeks ago where Alex Palou and Scott Dixon duked it out. Hopefully tonight we see some duking it out between Doherty, McClements, and maybe even a few more names.
Yeah, and hopefully no scenes like we saw in 2 weeks ago when we saw Sebastian Murray having that massive off in the next series. This is a very fast-flowing circuit, and it can potentially go very badly wrong when it goes wrong, given the sort of speeds that we're getting at.
Yeah, it's a track that brings out a lot of mistakes in drivers. It is absolutely not easy. It is 2.2 miles where you get one real resting opportunity, and that is the straight down towards turn number 4. But should be an interesting evening nonetheless. Championship is shaping up nicely despite the good results for some last week, and it should be an entertaining one tonight, hopefully.
Yeah, and it's a track that hosts motorcycle racing. It's hosted NASCAR Xfinity in the past, alongside IMSA, no longer hosting IMSA sadly, but it does prove to be a very popular track, and one of these kind of almost private-esque tracks, it feels like, a bit like Virginia International Raceway, which is currently on the iRacing circuits. I think it's in the GT Challenge this week, GT3 Challenge. But yeah, it's one of those tracks that's kind of set through rolling countryside. There's a lot of very big and pronounced sort of elevation changes, and not one of those sort of traditional tracks that sort of, it's kind of cut out from what was originally there. This is a kind of a purpose-built track that's made for this. So these corners are all very carefully designed with speed in mind, and with flowing sections. And Ronan Doherty ending the practice session on top, 107.623. That is the time to beat. But I suspect, Evan, as we often see, quali will prove to be even faster.
Yeah, we'll get some quick runs in qualifying. It's a circuit with a lot of history, of course, as you mentioned, Kevin. And despite it being that purpose-built for speed, it does have a lot of fabulous history. Some big names who've raced here: Bruce McLaren, Jackie Stewart, Denny Hulme as well, have all taken various machines around this circuit. Me and you would actually quite like this track, and Ronan as well, because they say its best facility is its media centre, which gets 5-star reviews from across the globe, but the IndyCar journalists love coming here because of the media facilities. There's not as much for the fans. It's only 12,000 seats in terms of the grandstand, but it can host up to 80,000 if it would like to. So it's a popular circuit amongst the IndyCar circus, and hopefully it'll be a popular circuit amongst the RTA drivers this evening.
Yeah, I think for a lot of them as well, as we say, we're going back to the grassroots. A lot of them will be a lot more comfortable in this setting than they were, if not last week, certainly 2 weeks ago. As we get out on qualifying, we're going to give you a flying lap through the circuit once the guys come back around. Let's have a look at. We'll try and focus on Ronan Doherty for that if we can. But yeah, it is one of those tracks where you kind of sit in the grassy knoll, you have your beer and your popcorn or your whatever, and it's all very relaxed. As we see somebody going off the background, I think that's Jamal Gandor going off there, and Ronan dispatching somebody else in the background. I'm trying to get used to all these new liveries again, but yeah, it's one of those tracks that it's kind of old school in its style, but obviously with those modern facilities. So sitting up at the bank and watching these guys duke it out. Obviously it's been the week of, as we look, actually, I'm going to go straight to this. So this is the track here that we're looking at. If you haven't seen it before, this is going to be Ronan Doherty taking us around through turn one. Then we go right down this very long straight, and there's a couple of different variations. I thought we were using the chicane, but we don't appear to be. Straight down to the keyhole, which is a straight hairpin turn, and right back up where we came from. These are like golf course holes going up and down in opposite direction. This is the initial start line for the likes of IndyCar and for IMSA, but we're going to stick to the traditional start line as we go down towards what's known as China Beach, turns 4, 5, and down through the S's here, 6, 7 and 8. You'll see this is a fast flowing section as Ronan tries to hook the car in here and get the most out of it. 7 isn't as much of a turn, 8 is quite pretty much flat as well, as you try and position yourself outside for number 9. That's Thunder Valley. Now this is a section that was introduced into the track after 1963. Originally there was the Oak Tree Bend that was in there, but that was called too slow, so they've changed it around to Thunder Valley as we go down through 11 and now around through 12, turns 12 and 13, 12 known as the Carousel. Not quite as big as the carousel that we saw earlier on in the season at Road America, but that is a lap around Mid-Ohio. It's a pretty simple circuit, only 13 corners. Many of them aren't really proper corners. Really, the key corners here are turns 2, turns 4, 5 and 6, and then turns 12 as well. All of those are the ones where you really have to make sure you get it right, because you want to slingshot yourself as much as you can. Of course, turn 1 as well, heading down that long straight. But it's an interesting track, Evan, isn't it? You're kind of, so much of the first and second sectors are in a straight line, then it gets a little bit squiggly, but overall not overly technical. It's just about a case of trying to carry as much momentum through the corners as you can.
Yeah, absolutely. It reminds me of Termas, the MotoGP circuit in Argentina, in a way, where the first 2 sectors are very quick, and then you get to the real technical parts, and then the squirrely last sector. But that lap from Ronan Doherty, nowhere near full pace, so we expect to see a lot quicker through some of these bends, including from Jason Smith, who goes to the top of the order. Doherty purple in sector 2 and 3. We'll be looking to beat that lap from Jason. Of course, it was a fabulous week for Team DDR last week. 1, 2, 3 in heat number 3. Ronan Doherty, of course, winning heat number 2. The 2 McClemens brothers were on fabulous form last week and pulled off an absolute masterclass in that feature race. So they'll be looking to bounce off that form. Of course, those two prefer circuits like this rather than your Daytonas and your Indianapolises of this world. They won't be looking forward to going back to Indianapolis. But we'll certainly be looking forward to enjoying this evening. They're second and third, and of course Dylan McClemens leading the championship.
Yeah, let's have a look at those championship standings and see what the current situation is after 4 rounds. Of course, we're past the halfway mark here tonight, so this is our 5th round of 8, and Dylan McClemens leading the championship by quite some margin as well, despite the 15-point penalty he currently has. 273 plays 237. Then Brandon McCahan on 219, followed by David Wardy Ward on 181. Conamelia just behind him on 180. Then Peter McCann, Tony Stack, Sean McClemens, Kevin Joyce and Jordan Kelly. Good stuff from Kevin Joyce. He was a B championship winner recently, so for him to get within the top 10 straight away, and Tony Stack, a great championship for those 2 guys thus far. Evan, it's a big gap already forming between the likes of Dylan McClements and Ronan Doherty. Um, for Ronan, really needs to try and change that momentum because the weeks will start to run out on him pretty quickly, especially when you consider our penultimate race is back on an oval track in Daytona where it's very much kind of anybody's game. So Ronan will want to make sure that he's pretty close to Dylan by the time that comes around.
Yeah, absolutely. Ronan Doherty, always a late season wonder, always takes a lot of wins towards the end of the season. So he'll be looking to do so again tonight. Seems to be the pace setter here in mid-Ohio. Was quick in practice. Of course, we saw earlier on, and is very quick here in qualifying. Heading up towards the final couple of corners, then let's see what he's like through here at full speed. Pink, orange and yellow, the livery choice for Doherty this season. He's really stood out on circuit. And he's into the pits just as we go to have a look at him. So thanks, Ronan. That's twice now where he has messed us up on a track guide. Further down the other good lap from Councillor Chuckaway, who's back from his leaving cert holiday and has recovered from whatever forms of headaches he's had. And he's back on the pace.
Yeah, if you're just coming away with a headache, then you're doing pretty well. So there's a lot of people who come away with a lot worse than just a headache. So hopefully Camto enjoyed his holiday. Good to have him back as well. It's been an interesting week in the world of iRacing. Of course, we had the Spa 24 Hours. Our own Wildfire team finished P20th after what was a bit of a strange race for us, I have to say. It was one of those races where it was really hard. GT3s are interesting. It's very hard to make up any time because people spend so much time practicing in them. But quite a bit of controversy coming out from one of the races in which a team full of professional drivers essentially blocked and subsequently wrecked half the field and then got disqualified.
Cool.
That's been doing the rounds on YouTube today. You can check out Base Golly's YouTube for that after this, of course.
Sure.
If you want to catch up on all of the iRacing drama. There is inevitably always drama after a special event, but nice now we can take a break and go back to what is a very wholesome series and one that never courts any controversy, especially not between Emma Dempsey and Jamal Gondor, as Conor Melia mows the lawn there a little bit. But yeah, a lot of these guys going into the pits, Evan, and I suppose it's because of those alternate tyres. They don't last very long. You just got to go out in short bursts, try and get something done. It's not a case where you can just pound it around the laps and wear away down that lap time. You've really got to be accurate and in and out job.
Yes, just quickly, Jamal, as he spins, just as we go to talk about him and Emma crashed last week again. We didn't pick up on it in the stream at the time, but it was in the incident, so just for all of those who are keeping up with that love affair. The alternates, I know in real IndyCar, actually last a little bit longer around here than they do at most circuits. So we might see a little bit more running of the alternate tyres. Phil Upson has opted for qualifying. McCann has bounced along the grass and has spun, heading down towards turn number 2. So not a great start to qualifying for Peter McCann, currently in 13th, and he's now taking that chicane, Kevin. So your needs have been satisfied.
Yeah, finally. You just picked out the wrong map. That's all that happened. But yeah, interesting that it's hard to know sometimes what layout they decide to go for because you get the name of the track.
This is the real life layout.
This is the actual layout, yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, not great for Peter McCann, but good for Ronan Doherty. He has picked up the pace. He's on a 107.8 now, but I suspect he could go faster there with another 6 minutes left in the championship. If you've joined us for the first time, which I'm sure you haven't, probably join us every week, but we took the time to make the graphics, so we're going to put it on screen. This is what you're in store, what's in store for you over the course of this evening in the RTA IndyCar Championship. Race 1 is a 10-minute session. Grid set by qualifying that you see before you. Then race 2, 15 minutes with the grid set by race 1. And then the final race is the feature race, we like to call it, with the reverse 8 from race 2. So the top 8 swap around, and then 9 to the end of the grid stay where they are. All of the races are worth the equal amount of points, so it doesn't matter whether you do well in the 10-minute or the 20-minute race, you'll still do the same amount. 15-minute drive through, 15x drive through, and 20x for the DQ. I suspect you'd want to be doing pretty badly to get anywhere near those on this track. This is not really one of those tracks that's really technical and tricky. It's just a case of trying to carry, as I said earlier, try to carry the momentum as much as possible. Who are we looking at here in the number 26 car? That is Jason Smith. Big fan of Jason Smith's livery, and it looks like Jason's taking the time to do some proper spec mapping as well of that goal so that it shimmers nicely off the car. Big fan of that from Jason Smith.
Yeah, Jason putting a bit of preparation for something. That's not often. That doesn't happen often in sim racing. But Jason, with a lovely gold and white livery, and himself and Ronan Doherty are trading times at the top here. Doherty's just gone 0.2 of a second quicker, maybe a little bit of a prelude to what we can expect in Kyrgyzstan in a few weekends' time. But Ronan Doherty, quickest of the bunch so far, with 4 minutes to go in qualifying, and really those two in a world of their own. Dylan McClement's the only other driver in the 107s.
Yeah, Ronan Doherty sporting the Dogecoin traffic, and he's probably the only thing that's gone downhill faster than the actual Bitcoin itself in the last couple of years. As Ronan with a 107.4. Time's ticking away now. Probably the last chance for a lot of these guys to get out, get the tyres up to temperature, and get a lap in. Interesting that you say, Evan, that these tyres will run a little bit longer. Do you anticipate that anybody will try these alternates for race one?
There's always someone. Whether it's the most genius decision or the worst decision ever, there's always someone. Even in Daytona last week, I think we had one or two, and that was a car crash of a decision. So there will be someone. Whether it's the best decision or not, I'm really not sure. We'll have to wait and see. Dylan McClement's putting a lot of prep in to get underway here as David Ward is pulled off, but he was just letting someone through. A bit of sportsmanship, and a gentleman racer is David Ward. Had a decent week last week. Unfortunate at times, but picked up a nice 6th place in heat number 2. That was the highlight for him.
Yeah, it's been an up and down season. He's plenty of following, as David Ward, in fairness to him on the chat. So thanks to all of you who have been keeping an eye on him over the course of this season. But hasn't been quite up to the pace that we might have expected. But some runners like Tony Stack and Kevin Joyce have had a great season thus far.
Yeah, they've had a great season so far. Kevin Joyce has been right on the pace, has used his racing experience in these IndyCars especially. Despite his experience not being in an IndyCar, it just seems to have taken to him well, although he's usually quick in quicker machinery, if that makes sense. The likes of your LMP2s, these, he's done well in, and he is on a qualifying lap now. Only one improving at the bottom of your screen is Conor Amelia, who is green in sector number 3. Conor has not seen the lofty heights this championship that he would have wanted to see. Definitely would have expected to have won a race by now. He's currently 7th in qualifying and really needs to take his chances when they come. Obviously ovals will be where he excels, and was unfortunate not to win in Indianapolis. And Dylan McClement's got across the start finish line now and take to the front row.
Yeah, McClements went purple in the first sector and then green all the way through, so very, very, very close, just 0.02 of a second separating himself and his cousin at the top of the leaderboard. And you can see that Team DDR, they're carrying on that momentum now, because only Jason Smith is the small Leinster contingent in an otherwise Ulster dominated front 2 rows. It is, there's certainly something that Jason's trying to break here. Could we have a quick look at the standings again, just to see where Jason Smith is in this championship? Because I'd be very interested to see. Maybe we could do that old picture-in-picture we had last time. He is way down the standings. Okay, that's interesting, Jason. So obviously he was in and around it. I think won the last championship that we had. But off the pace, unfortunately here. I think just in case too many accidents again. Especially our Indies, the Indy 500 version comes to mind about that. But yeah, so you can look at your top runners. So Dylan McClements, Ronan Doherty, Brandon McGahan, David Ward and Conor Amelia, your top 5. So just bear that in mind as we're going forward. But Dylan McClements and Ronan Doherty already first and second in this championship. But for Dylan, again, he's in a great spot here, Evan, because we know that Dylan really has no problem with kind of running a consistent pace and being up the top and staying out of trouble. And he does that exceptionally well. So to be in a position now where he's already so far ahead in the championship, he's in a great position now to just consolidate what he already has.
Loving that picture-in-picture graphic. That's very cool. Ronan Doherty definitely in a position to... Ronan and Dylan in a position to keep what they have, but of course they'll start fighting amongst themselves at some point, even if they keep telling us that they won't. Jason Smith, I think he's only done 2 or 3 rounds, and he has a 30-point penalty, so that's what put him down the order. But that is qualifying complete, and it is the first 2 in the championship who are first in qualifying. It is Ronan Doherty On pole position with Dylan McClements in second. Then it's Jason Smith in third and Sean McClements in fourth, beating Camto Chukwa in fifth. So that's Camto's best qualifying this season. Dara Halley in sixth, and it is Conor Melia in seventh, ahead of Peter McCann, Kevin Joyce, who we saw bouncing his way through the turn one grass, and Wayne Douglas in 10th. And it is David Ward, Tony Stack, Evan Walsh, Ken Doyle, Gary Corcoran, Emma Dempsey, Andrew Murphy, Simon Hutchings, Jamal Gandor, and Danny Dempsey, ahead of Phil Upson to round us through. So it is a fairly routine RTA qualifying order with maybe the odd surprise mixed in.
Yeah, pretty much. Like David Ward down in 11th, that's not going to be great for his championship credentials, but for the likes of Camto, like Camto Chukwa, he is in a great position, and coming fresh off the holiday, certainly not lacking practice, as he puts himself in fifth position. One of my just having a quick look at the Mid-Ohio history. One of my favorite things about Mid-Ohio is that the DPI record holder is Kevin Magnussen, and the GT1 record holder is Jan Magnussen. So father and son both on the honours board here at Mid-Ohio in different eras of sports cars. I just really enjoyed that, looking at that. That was just something that made me smile.
Part of me says Kevin Magnussen's actually drove an IndyCar around here as well. I know he drove in Belle Isle, replacing Felix Rosenquist when he had a bad crash. Not sure if he drove one around here. Could totally be making that up. But we're getting ready to go for the warm-up lap. It'll be very interesting to see if the rolling start happens here or down towards turn number 4, because in real life it would happen down towards turn number 4. But of course this is iRacing, so we like to do things that little bit different. Last week it was neither Doherty nor McClements who won the opening heat. It was Jordan Kelly, but of course he isn't here tonight, so won't be able to battle for that first position. As a matter of fact, Ronan Doherty hasn't won heat number 1 since round number 1. Dylan McClements hasn't won it at all this season. It's gone to Jason Smith, Sean McGovern and Jordan Kelly, so we might see a little bit of a surprise here.
Yeah, could do. Just on that, you're right, partly, Evan, in that he did replace Felix Rosenquist in the Arrow McLaren team in June of 2021, but it was for the Grand Prix of Road America, where he qualified P21 and then retired with mechanical issues. So didn't ever actually finish IndyCar race, but he did compete in one.
He was actually meant to sign an IndyCar contract the year he was brought back to F1 late as well to replace Nikita Mazepin. I know he had signed something somewhere to race in IndyCar, but of course you're going to jump at the F1 opportunity when you can. But
it's a lot more money, isn't it?
Oh yeah, way more, especially with whatever stupid wage Haas were going to pay him to come back when they had no one. A lot more money, but well. He had a relatively successful comeback in the Haas anyways, and now he just hangs about for a living, really. Races at BMW and WEC.
Yeah, nice way to be. Kevin still racing in WEC. Loves the sports cars. Has always raced sports cars, really, and I suppose that's because of his dad's time in sports car racing, and raced alongside him in the same team in I'm gonna say European Le Mans, but I could be wrong in saying that. Another interesting part of this track, the section after all of the long straights. So you have that one turn, then a long straight, then a hairpin, then a very long straight. After that, you come to a section which is colloquially known as China Beach. But that turn 4 was actually refurbished in 2024. Green flag, with its 4-degree banking reduced to 2 degrees as we get set to go here. I'm not sure where that's reflected in the game, but Ronan Doherty set us off.
Yeah, Ronan Doherty gets us underway, and Jason Smith immediately overtaking Dylan McClements. And Dylan McClements has gone bobbling round the outside of turn number 1, and he's not the only one. Oh, he's done very, very well to hold on to it. Has he? There's airborne, there's a car gone up. It's not Dylan McClements, but McClements, I think, is missing his wing briefly. It's Evan Walsh who has taken flight down towards the keyhole, and that is very disappointing start to Evan Walsh after such a promising Daytona. Dylan McClements has done very well to keep going in this one, but trouble early on for the championship leader.
Yeah, we saw Peter McCann do that in qualifying, and you go wide there, and your temptation is to keep your foot in it to go across the bank, but there's such a huge difference in elevation there between the track and the access road. You just bounce across it, you lose all of the aero that you have. And Dylan did well to keep it together. It looks like netcode was involved in that, I have to say. It didn't look like the two of them actually collided. It looked like there was a bit of space between them. We might be able to go back and have a look at the replay. But as Dylan is the car rejoining the circuit, it's on him to make sure that it's done safely. And if you can't do that, then that's on him. So I suspect the stewards may have something to say about that rejoin from the number 88 car, who now finds himself all the way down in 11th place. But it's a pretty poor start there. We'll have to have a look at the replay and see what caused Dylan to spear off there. But yeah, not a great start at all for the championship leader.
Not a great start at all. Good start for Camto Chukwu on the primary. He's up a spot, currently running in fourth. Let's have a look at this one then. Jason Smith seemed to get the jump on him. McClemens had to take the outside line, which is certainly not preferred on a race start. Was there contact made? No, Dylan went off on his own. Wasn't able to hang it down the outside and bounces on here, and then the car just wants to slide. Evan Walsh actually made contact with the 30 or the 25. So wasn't actually contact with McClemens, and then Jamal Gandor had his own adventure as well and spun round and clipped someone. And please, oh, yeah, he's hit Emma Dempsey. He's hit Emma Dempsey.
It's like there's two magnets attached to both of those cars. You know what I mean? Like, it is actually incredible how they come together every single race. I still think there's a very large amount of netcode involved in that Evan Walsh accident. But again, hopefully later on we might be able to have another look at that, because that will most undoubtedly be the story of this opening race, as Ronan Doherty now has a second gap over Jason Smith, as Peter McCann fights Camto Chukwu down at the inside, and Camto's obviously on the primaries. As we said, he got off to a good start, but McCann is through and into fourth position. That's a little bit better from the Laois native as he pops into fourth position, but there is still quite a bit of a gap between himself and Sean McClemens. I suspect Peter, he is up 4 positions from 8th. He will take that all day long if things stay the way they are.
Yeah, Peter going to be much quicker than Camto in this opening stage of the race. It's all about what the tire wear is like. Here is Dylan McClemens actually being overtaken by Tara Halley, so damage clearly on that car for Dylan. And Tara Halley able to sweep through in towards 12th spot. Biggest gainer in the opening couple of laps is actually Gary Corcoran, who's up 5 spots to 10th position. Another one on the primaries, but he is also attacking Tony Stack on the primaries, so a fairly even battle now between Tony and Gary, two long-time servants of RTA, duking it out in the IndyCars. Good to see both out on track.
Yeah, brilliant. And you know, there's a lot of experience on this track at the moment. It doesn't necessarily always show, but there is a lot of experience nonetheless. Thanks to Johnny Hollywood, who did say that K-Mag only ran in Road America. That is well before the time it took for me to actually look that up, but I'm glad I could add a little bit more detail as to how that race went for the Flying Dane. But it was a flying Antrim man who's caused quite a lot of hassle in this opening race. It's just one of those things, isn't it, that we saw it earlier with Peter. You go off track and you think you can keep the foot down and try and keep your place, but actually Conor Mealy did the exact same thing behind him, didn't get involved in as much instance, but you hit that grass as he overtakes Tony Stack there, makes a mistake on exit, and Gary Corcoran, should I say, makes a mistake on exit, and Conor Mealy and Dara Halley go through. You just hit that bit of grass and it just catapults you up into the air. And these cars obviously don't have a lot of weight in the same way that GT cars would have, so you don't have that stability at all. It throws all the aero out and then you're essentially on ice. And it's really unfortunate for Evan Walsh, because it's an accident that he had absolutely nothing to do with, and no doubt that he'll be sending a report into the steward's room, as I suspect will Emma Dempsey. But that's just, you know, a thought. It's just a hunch.
Yeah, Evan Walsh at the right start, representative of all the backflips he's doing to try and get an All-Ireland final ticket for both sports now. So he'll probably take the time to enter another few giveaways while he's in the pit lane. Wayne Douglas, big dive down the inside to pass Jamal Gandor's lap car. Wayne Douglas in the Scott Dixon livery, the man who won the actual IndyCar race here a couple of weeks ago in mid-Ohio, so he'll be looking for a bit of a rub of the green like Scott Dixon got on that day to beat his teammate Alex Palou. But still Ronan Doherty in the race lead, leading by 1.2 seconds. And then Jason Smith 2.7 ahead of Sean McClemens. He's 4.5 ahead of Peter McCann. So the real fights in this one happening in the midfield.
Yeah, Conor Melia, there's a spin there. That is David Ward with the spin. So he has dropped right back to 13th position. He was starting in 11th. He was up a few places, but unfortunately all that good work is undone, and he is followed by his great British brethren, Simon Hutchings, behind him. So that's going to be a bit of an English-Welsh battle as we look forward to the first Lions test this Saturday, as Tony Stack gets very close with Conor Melia. Now back into 8th position is Conor, but started in 7th, obviously had that off at the first corner, but really not getting to grips with this car in the way that we expected him to.
No, not really. And Dara Halley dives down the inside of Tony Stack now, and he might get Conor Melia here as well, heading through the S's, and Dara Halley on the inside still here. Is he able to keep it in the number 802? No, not quite. Conor Melia using his experience to just stay in front, and he is going to remain in front as they head in towards Thunder Valley, and Melia is ahead and stays in 8th position, but burned quite a lot of his push to pass. There is only 3 minutes left in this one though, so still plenty of time still plenty of push to pass to use in the time remaining.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, when you have a 10-minute race and you have that 200 seconds, like when you divide that out, like it's a 600-second race if you think about it. So you could be on the juice for, am I right? Yes, 60 by 10. 600-second race, should be second there. So you can be kind of on the juice for about a third of the overall running of the race, which is quite a substantial amount of time when you consider it to the full race lengths of the actual IndyCar races. So it does afford these guys an awful lot of opportunity to use it, but then everyone's in the same boat. So it's about how you use it. You look at this gap with Gary Corcoran, this gaggle in front of him, you've Gary, and then in front of him Tony Stack, and then Conor Melia, but then Wayne Douglas, 146 seconds left. He's 3.5 seconds down the road from Kevin Joyce, but does have an awful lot of push to pass to use if he chooses to do so in the 16 machine. Kevin Joyce up to 6th. He's had a great start thus far and a very good championship for him. Camto Chukura up in 5th as well. Obviously, pretty much where he started. Am I right in saying that, Camto? He was up to 4th briefly and then back down to 5th. So 5th is a good evening for him as well. And obviously, this race sets the grid for race 2. So for the likes of Evan Walsh and Emma Dempsey and Jamal Gandor, unfortunately, having a bad race in the opening race really does stunt the rest of your evening. And speaking of Dylan McClemens starting in 12th in the second race, it's going to be very, very difficult for the youngster as he goes wide there again and is really struggling. David Ward going through in that case. A lot of these guys actually, Evan, struggling to try and quite literally get to grips with the track. We're seeing a lot of lock-ups and a lot of spins, so I wonder, is track temperature getting quite high at the moment?
Yeah, high track temperature and then the dirty air in these cars is absolutely chronic, so they're not going to be assisted too much with that. Interestingly enough, not much of a tyre drop off from the alternates. Ronan Doherty's last lap, we'll see it as he comes across the start finish line. Okay, it is about 9/10 of a second, which is fairly significant. But Doherty 108, 8 last laps, Smith 109.1. If we just compare that to the championship leader Dylan McClemens on his previous lap, it was a 1:11.6, so he's not having a good time in the midfield here. Doherty going to get big points over his teammate. As you can see, Jason Smith just sliding his way out. This will be the last lap of the race, and Conor Melia is going to be attacking Wayne Douglas. Now Wayne Douglas has to consider using the push to pass, and Melia tries the little dummy in towards the keyhole. It's not going to work out there. Wayne Douglas with a lot of experience, just going to pin it on the exit. Great exit for Douglas, but Melia might have a go down towards the right-hander. Dara Halley tucked right in behind this as well in the 802, had one attempt on getting past Conor Melia, and Melia has to keep one eye forward and one eye behind, not close enough to Douglas, and Halley not close enough to him.
Yeah, Melia kicking up a bit of dust in the face of Dara Halley, just in a small attempt to try and put him off as best he can, as David Ward nips up into 11th position. Now he's certainly has the pace, does Wardy, but just too many mistakes as Ronan Doherty crosses the line and picks up a race win, and all championship very much open after that, Evan.
Yeah, absolutely. And here comes Wayne Douglas now, barreling it down the inside. Has to be very careful not to give Melia the nudge. And Melia once again back, gives him a little bit of a shoulder. And Douglas touches the grass and rotates round. Dara Halley goes through. The Kerryman Tony Stack goes through as well on Wayne Douglas. All seemed clean and fair from Melia and Halley's perspective. Seemed to be Douglas's own mistake. He drops to 10th position in the number 16. Disappointing end for Wayne Douglas. Andrew Murphy rounding through a couple of the minor placings. A dramatic ending there in the battle for 7th spot.
Yeah, it very, very, I suppose the two of them touched in that way, and then you can see Wayne trying to give Conor Melia enough space there on the outside, but just overdoing it on the corner, and unfortunately dipping that left rear tyre into the grass, and from there he never had any choice, as we see Ken Doyle crossed the line just after Andrew Murphy, our last one to cross the line, not last in the classifications, which will be given to you very shortly by Evan Dalton.
Really? It's been almost, it's in a year and a half.
Give me a break. Give me a break.
Year and a half. Ronan Zardi, your race winner with Jason Smith in second. Sean McClemens in third with Peter McCann in fourth. Camto Chucko, a good 5th place finish for him. Then Kevin Joyce, Conor Melia, Dara Halley, Tony Stack and Wayne Douglas. David Ward in 11th ahead of Gary Corcoran, Dylan McClements, Simon Hutchings, Andrew Murphy, Ken Doyle, Phil Upson, Jamal Gandor. Then it was good rival Emma Dempsey, Evan Walsh, and finally Danny Dempsey not getting any running there. Interestingly enough, they're entering on the grid now for race number 2. Very split tyre choice. A few going for the alternates, some going for the primaries.
So what do we think that Jamal Gandor's apology to Emma Dempsey will be this week?
Probably none.
I mean, last week it was I got a 0x, so ergo it's okay. And now this week it's going to be something else. So
the all caps message hasn't come in yet though, so he mightn't know what he's done.
It's only a matter of time. So yeah, Andrew Murphy sending in some incidents already, which is quite impressive given that they're already rolling on the grid. So this is they call it consolation race. We just call it heat number 2. And this is the same positions from race 1. We start off in race 2. And interestingly, Evan Dalton, the top 3 are all on the alternates.
Yeah, going to be very interesting to see how Peter McCann fares in this race if he survives in it. Kevin Joyce going for the alternates as well. Campto going for the primaries, so still obviously comfortable from where he was. He is the one of very few in the top bunch with experience on the primary tyres so far tonight. I imagine most of them ran in practice. But in race trim and in these current conditions, he has good experience, so it'll be interesting to see how Campto fares. They're difficult to heat up, the primaries. The alternates fire up very quickly, but the alternates, of course, do use a lot of tyre wear. Usually they're no good for heat number 2, but it seems like we have a good few running them tonight. Wayne Douglas, Tony Stack, Gary Corcoran all in the primaries, Conor Melia on the alternates, and he is usually very good at managing his tyres here in this Dallara IR18, so I'd keep an eye on Conor Melia.
How many of these guys do you reckon, Evan, have actually tested the alternates on a 15-minute race, or how many of them just chuck it on and think, okay, well, they
4.
felt okay. Oh, okay, 4. That's a very specific answer. I thought you'd give me some analysis there, but okay, let's just go.
Well, I can do. I would say Conor Melia, Kevin Joyce. Depends what mood Ronan Doherty was in. Maybe Ken Doyle, maybe Jamal. No, sorry, 5. Dylan definitely has as well.
Yeah, I was going to say Dylan has as well. So, yeah. I suppose if Ronan has and Dylan has, and I suspect Dylan probably has, because most times when I look at his guard 61, he's turning laps. It is, obviously must be quicker over the course of things, but I suppose again it just depends on how much you get held up in the opening couple of laps as we come round to start our second race this evening.
Jason is in a very dodgy spot here because he's not the pace setter. Ronan Doherty is, and now he's just been absolutely caught out. Jason Smith, the cause of his own demise on that race start, and Sean McClemens is looking to avenge his brother and get past Jason Smith in towards the first corner. Smith going to have to settle for third here, but I imagine he's going to fight back fairly quickly. Looks for the grass, pivots to the outside. Sean McClemens gives the defensive squeeze in towards the second corner, and Jason Smith is going to to be hung out to dry on the outside and maybe attacked by Peter McCann behind. But no, great exit for the Selbridge man. Down towards turn number 4. Still in the slipstream of Sean McClemens. McClemens shows him the outside. Smith not able to go for the dummy. He's too far alongside. Sean just gives him enough racing room. Jason Smith not able to get past. Good defensive efforts from the second team, Didi Orcar. Wayne Douglas no front wing. He's got into contact somewhere.
Yeah, that's disappointing for Wayne. It's been a disappointing end to the first race and a disappointing start to the second, but very just surprised by Jason Smith. Oh, he goes wide now as Wayne. I thought he was going to spin, and he manages to stop it before he does. I thought it was only a matter of time before he started swapping the wrong way around. As you see this battle between Kevin Joyce and Peter McCann, it's McLaren Mercedes versus McLaren Mercedes. Two very different, or McLaren Mercedes versus just McLaren, should I say, two different eras of the McLaren team racing, or at least the liveries are in any case. But yeah, it's very surprised by Jason Smith. Got himself all in the tangle there and just has completely stitched himself up with the way he started his race, and it's very difficult for him. That's Andrew Murphy going wide there. That's a 3 wide situation now. It's being created between himself and Dylan McClemens and Gary Corker. McClemens being wise to stay out of it, but he has to get the clappers going here, does Dylan, because if he gets stuck behind these guys, he's going to very, very soon be distanced from the rest. But he is missing a part of his nose wing. Yeah, he's missing part of his nose wing. So involved in contact there again as David Ward goes off. He just can't stick to consistent laps as David. He definitely has the pace, but the consistency has been lacking this evening. But already some of the major front runners missing parts of bodywork, and we're starting to see some early contact, should I say. Meanwhile, this man here is well disappeared down the road.
Yeah, you mentioned Jason Smith on the race start, and my mind brings me back to the LMP2s at Road Atlanta, where Jason Smith did something exactly similar to Ronan Doherty, went miles out in front, then had to brake suddenly to let Ronan Doherty through, and on that day it caused a monumental accident behind. It was almost a similar situation to Oscar Piastri at the British Grand Prix a few weekends ago. This time Jason not causing an accident, just caught himself out way too much, and I'm not sure whether it's poor play by Jason, great tactics by Ronan. Evan Walsh tried something similar in Daytona last week when he was on the reverse grid pole, but Jason down to third because of it, 2 seconds behind Sean McClemens. Sean has upped the pace here, but Ronan, in a world of his own, 0.5 of a second quicker than anyone on the second lap here.
Yeah, he is just checked out big time, has Ronan Doherty, and this is going to be absolutely monumental for his championship contention. And really, I know that obviously, look, you know, for Dylan he was in a great spot, but for us as people watching, you want to see a very close championship battle. This now opens the door for others to have an attack at Dylan and to claw back some of that distance. So for the championship overall, I think it's a good thing. Obviously not a great night for Dylan McClemens thus far. We're only, mind you, 4 minutes into the second race. Still plenty of time for Dylan to make up positions. You can see him there in the background. He's still stuck behind Andrew Murphy and indeed Tony Stack in front of him with that damage. But you suspect even with that, Dylan is quick enough, as that's a mistake from Stack. So Dylan slips through past Carryman in the Team Whiskey 21 car, who's going to be now under pressure from David Ward behind, as we flick back to a battle for 8th position. This is, sorry, 7th position, should I say. And it's Conor Melia taking Candy off the leaving cert baby and getting into 7th. It's disappointing for Camto. He's down 3 places. Those primaries not quite working out for him. But Peter McCann, he's down 2 places, but where he is at the moment, still in a very strong position to launch a late attack as tyres go off up front.
Yeah, you don't get 6.25 by finishing 8th. Peter McCann doing a good job in 6th. Dara Halley is ahead. Dylan McClemens is very interesting. Usually he's a very composed driver. Jason Smith into the pit lane. That's hardly for a regular pit stop. And I don't think he's got a drive-through, no. So, he might have got damaged Jason Smith.
Yeah, very surprising from Jason. He just stopped for half a second and then back out again. Our race director, Ronan Hederman, thinks that it's damage, but he was in the pits for such a short amount of time. I can't imagine what kind of damage would have been fixed in the amount of time. We do have quick repairs in this series. Okay, that makes sense. I see. So yeah, obviously Jason's damaged so much that he takes it that a pit stop was quicker than limping along. I mean, it is a fast pit lane here. It isn't a particularly long pit lane. We were talking about Spa last week. That is probably the longest pit lane in all of iRacing. This is a relatively short one, so you don't lose that much time relatively in the pit lane. And now Jason back with a fully functioning car. He's in 16th position. And he does have just under 10 minutes to try and make his way up through the field. And we're going to have a look at him do that as we get on board with Conor Melia. And he's overtaken there Peter McCann, and it's fairly comfortable for Melia. He's into 5th position. It's the best we've seen Conor run in the last couple of weeks, so great opportunity for the IndyCar fanatic to finally get a step on the podium. Probably too much for him to get a race win, but he will start ahead of a lot of those guys in the reverse race should he stay where he is, which will give him a great platform in which to try and attack that first position.
Yeah, it absolutely will. Great move by Conor Melia. We were looking at Dylan McClements there, and what I was going to say before we had the Jason Smith pit lane saga is you can see he's driving angry tonight after what happened in that first heat, which is brilliant to see because with half a front wing in the car, he's chucking it down the inside, left, right and centre. Speaking of which, Jason Smith pulls off a nice clean move on Emma Dempsey. No dramas there. Smith is up to 14th. There's not long left in this race, but he can definitely break into the top 10, Jason Smith. If he could get on the reverse grid, that would be some comeback, but it's a long way forward.
Yeah, long way forward now for him. Just having a quick look at the push to pass, Peter McCann and Camto Chukwe both have the most, apart from obviously Ronan, who's well out in front. But great opportunity for those two. They're not that far off. Obviously, big gap between Sean McClements and Kevin Joyce. So really the top three, huge separation. But then when you get to third onwards, should I say, like Kevin to Dara to Connor to Peter, it's only about 2 seconds and a bit. So if the tyres do start going off here, the opportunities will open up for Peter McCann to try and get a podium position.
Yeah, absolutely. The alternates seemed very good, though. They were quite quick towards the end of the 10 minutes, so it would have to be in the last 2 or 3 laps where Peter McCann can really capitalise. But himself and Tara Halley have done a stellar job here, and Halley is slowly clawing in Kevin Joyce in the old McLaren livery. Of course, Kevin mentioned the McLaren versus McLaren Mercedes. I think one was certainly more successful than the other in terms of livery-wise. But Kevin Joyce doing a good job here. This would be his second podium of the season. If he could take it, of course, finished second in Heat 3 at Watkins Glen in what was a dramatic conclusion to that one. But he ran well in Heat 2 last week as well, finishing in 4th. So he's one-upping that as of now. But Dara Halley looking for one of his very few RTA podiums.
Yeah, and obviously on the McLaren story, we saw Alex Dunn do exceptionally well. It's been a great summer of sport thus far for Irish competitors. We've had a first Irishman to hold the Tour de France yellow jersey in over 3 decades this week, and coming up to the Open this weekend, and hopefully where Shane Lowry or Rory McIlroy will do well. Plus we have the small matter of an All-Ireland final to look forward to Sunday. As you said, Evan Walsh down the back, probably, as you said, looking through various Instagram posts. I'm sure that Intersport post has been shared several times by not just him, but plenty of others, I can tell you from first-hand experience. Just before I finish up that point, went on the Cork Hurling supporters Facebook group. Oh, that's a big access. Kevin Doyle getting touched. Kevin Doyle getting hit by Gary Corcoran, and I suspect he'll have a word with the stewards about that, and they won't be particularly happy about that.
I think that could be Jason.
Yeah, I actually think you're right. It is Jason. Sorry, my apologies. And after pitting and getting a quick repair, it's now gone very quickly wrong for Jason Smith, who finds himself exactly the same position where he did before he pitted after yet more contact. It's a cell bridge too far for Jason Smith this evening, I think, unfortunately. He is going to find himself way off the pace. I had a look at the comments. 270 comments of people looking for 4s and 5 lots of tickets for the All Ireland on Sunday. So yeah, I'm sure I'm sure anybody who had an All Ireland in this grid would probably get their iRacing paid for the next 5 or 6 years by somebody desperate enough, because they are massively touted for it.
Yeah, Evan Walsh even has me asking in Crow Park for tickets, which I'd happily oblige, but I'm not going to get them. So sorry for that, Evan. I think if he got a ticket and then Tipperary won, we mightn't see him for a few weeks. He might have a similar situation to Campto, where he missed a few RTA rounds because he was on a holiday. Anyways, totally unrelated. But Dara Halley,
yeah,
absolutely. Buckets full, maybe even an IndyCar full. Who knows? All of that's just regular weekend, anyways. Probably. Dara Halley on the tail of Kevin Joyce here, right on the tail of Kevin Joyce as we ride on board. Primaries starting to look quicker than the alternates. Dara Halley about 0.4 of a second quicker than Kevin Joyce, but Conor Amelia is clawing them both in. Just not sure if he'll have enough time to do anything.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for them. I mean, he's getting closer, and we saw in the first race that there was about 0.7 of a difference between Ronan Doherty's faster laps and the slower laps. So you can see here now the gap is coming down all the time. Like it was as low as about a second between the two of them. And now you can see they've really closed up as Dara Halley. So the gap is coming down very quickly, and this is a track that it's very hard to defend for that long because there are so many fast flowing corners that if you get a run at all on somebody, you have a great chance of overtaking them. Probably too far for Peter McCann to get himself involved, but for Dara Halley, he finds himself in a great position to get a podium here because we still do have the bones of 3 laps left here, and that's quite a lot for Kevin Joyce to try and hold off as his tyres are falling away.
Yeah, probably. Dara Halley looking very quick here on the push to pass, going for this one down towards turn number 4. Is he close enough? No, too far back here to go for a lunge. Still look for it anyways. Oh, he's gone for it down the inside. That could have been disastrous. That was very late from Dara Halley. Just puts on the stoppers at the right time. Kevin Joyce maybe a bit of a jump scare there. Halley goes for an inside line. Joyce is going to carry a lot more momentum for the corner here. That's going to help him defend once we get to the start-finish straight once again. But the primary tyres at this stage in the race looking a lot quicker for Dara Halley than the alternates are for Kevin Joyce.
Yeah, I think what your commentary there was exactly what went through Kevin Joyce's head, in that he went, he's too far for a line. Oh my God, he's here. Okay, panic, because that's essentially what happened. Really late from Dara Halley, and you can see the frustration starting to build now in the 802 machine. So Dara will be looking to see if he can try and get something done here because time is ticking away. Obviously, he just needs to get it done once. So better to take your time and get it done right as he almost careers into the back of that McLaren painted IR18. But yeah, getting very, very tight now as a battle now between Campto and Peter for P6. This should be interesting. Both of these guys on primaries. So we're in a fair fight here between these two. But plenty of battles here to get us through the rest of this race.
Conor Amelia's just got past Kevin Joyce. Kevin and Dara are falling down the order. There's been contact somewhere. Conor Amelia is on the podium. And Dylan McClemens has jumped up a couple of spots as well. There's a problem with David Ward too. Andrew Murphy getting past Dara Halley. There's Dara Halley. The podium chance has ended up at the seaside, and even though the sun has gone, Dara fancies a trip to the beach. Let's have a look then. What's happened? It's down towards turn number 4 once again. I imagine it's something similar to what happened a previous lap ago. Let's see. Dara Halley, too far for him to think about it. Hits the back of Kevin in the air, sends himself across the gravel. Horror collision similar to Simon Pagino's at this very track, at that very corner. And he's unfortunately out of this.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose Dara anticipating Kevin that he would defend the inside, and Kevin obviously going a little bit wider than Dara expected. He probably thought he was going to try and outbrake him going into the corner, take him around the outside, but then when Kevin found himself in front of him, there's nowhere he could go. Obviously, it's on Dara to make sure that pass is done safely, but you can understand from his point of view when you expect Kevin Joyce to defend the inside, you don't expect him to be kind of in front of you when you're trying to outbrake him. So just one of those things, unfortunately, as we tick into the 15 minutes here, and Ronan Doherty extremely comfortably, he could actually stop and leave the seconds tick away and cross the line and still win the race, but he's decided to take another lap. So we'll go around once again here at mid-Ohio and down in towards turn number 2. This man, Evan, has been absolutely dominant this evening.
Yeah, really has been unbelievable. we haven't had a hat-trick this season in the IndyCars. I don't want to put the kibosh on it, but we could well see it this evening. He's in a world of his own, and he's fighting for a championship. He's putting in qualifying times. 107.7, fastest lap of the race. It's been phenomenal so far for the number 13 team DDR car. The livery, a fabulous colour, and he's standing out here in Ohio, rounding through the final few corners now. There was only 4 wins last season in the British touring cars. He's about to match that now here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Course. 2 tonight, 1 in Daytona and 1 in Road America, with 1 race to go. It really has been fabulous. He's barely touched that push to pass in the latter stages of this race, and he's going to win ahead of his cousin to the tune of 5 seconds. Ronan Doherty crossed the line then to take the second win of the evening and put himself in the championship lead almost.
Yeah, I mean, he's clawed back a massive amount of time. Sean McClements, his cousin, finishing in second, but it does take some effort to finish that far down the road ahead of the number 19 machine. Connor Melia, look at this. We were speaking about him earlier and how he'd be disappointed in terms of how this season has gone. This is a big boost for the Selbridge man, who finishes in P3 after all those accidents. What a gift for him. Followed by Campton Chukra and then Peter McCann, who get through on the primaries. Dylan McClements finishing in 6th, so a good finish for Dylan. That will put him in P3 for the final race, which will give him a chance at securing some late points. David Ward followed by Andrew Murphy, then Tony Stack, Jason Smith, Ken Doyle, Gary Corcoran, Emma Dempsey, who manages to avoid Jamal for 1 race at least and finishes in 13th position, followed by that man on screen, Wayne Douglas, then Kevin Joyce. Very unfortunate for the number 9 car, who was in the running all the way up until the end in that accident between himself and Dara Halley, who finishes 1 lap behind the rest. Here is Jamal Gandor nursing a half a broken wing, presumably broken off somebody else's car, although it could have been off the wall, we're not sure. And then Phil Upson, Simon Hutchings and Evan Walsh way behind Evan, never got the pace. Not entirely sure what happened there, whether he was on his phone while driving, that I'm not sure. But these are the results, or at least the provisional results, of the second race this evening in the 5th round of the Motorsport.ie RTA IndyCar Series.
Yeah, Ronan Doherty. Whoa, let's try that one again. Ronan Doherty, your race winner. Sean McClements in 2nd. Connor Melia in 3rd. Camto Chukwa in 4th. And it is Peter McCann, Dylan McClements, David Ward, Andrew Murphy, Tony Stack. Then it is Jason Smith down in 10. Ken Doyle, Gary Corcoran, Emma Dempsey, Wayne Douglas, Kevin Joyce, Jamal Gandor, Phil Upson, Simon Hutchings, Evan Walsh and Dara Halley rounding out the top 20 positions. Let's hear from your race winner then of heat number 1 and heat number 2. It's Ronan Doherty who joins us now. Ronan, congratulations. Unbelievable pace in heat number 1 and heat number 2. Talk about how you found those first 2 races.
Yeah, just sort of, I got 2 good starts. I think Dalton might have been sleeping a little bit at the first start, and Jason, I don't know what he was trying, but he was way ahead and he had to stop to allow me to pass before the line. And kind of when I just got that break, I just was able to punch in a few consistent laps and be lucky enough to break away from the lads behind.
Yeah, just want to talk to you briefly on that race start with Jason Smith. It's not the first time we've seen him try something similar with you, where he goes miles in front, and I'm not sure if he's hoping you catch up and you push too much in the formation lap. What do you make of it? Do you think it's a tactic or just some poor driving?
I don't know. He done it on me once in Imola and it worked, because I just passed him before the line. But I think he got a penalty for it in that race, like just off of iRace, and I'm not sure. But yeah, no, it's up to him. He starts the race, I guess.
Would make sense with the impromptu pit stop. On heat 3 then, Ronan, of course you start 8th, but overtaking does seem to be possible here.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried, because sometimes when you're in the flow and you've been out on your run for 2 races, it's quite difficult to then readjust. And even if it's maybe a 4 or 5 pace, 10th pace difference, it's difficult to just readjust and dirty air and stuff. So I'll try and just take it as it comes to me and not get bowled off in the first couple of corners.
Great insight there, Ronan. Thank you very much, and all going well, we'll chat to you again in about a half an hour's time.
I hope so.
Now the second place man with Kevin Galvin, it's Sean McClements.
Sean, 5 seconds down the road from your cousin, but he's been exceptionally quick here, and to be fair, a very good result for yourself, and it gives you a boost in that top 10 place.
Oh yeah, no, bit of a gap back to Ronan. I got past Jason, and I didn't know he had the penalty. So obviously Ronan's higher up in the championship than I am. So the first 2 or 3 laps, I was like, right, I'll hold Jason back, build my gap. And then Jason, of course, pulled down in the pit. I was like, all right, well, whatever. So, no, in fairness as well, Mark Ronan was driving well. I matched him for maybe half the race lap time wise, but you see the last half, like he started all time on me like mad. Whenever it started to get really slippy, so fair play to him.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. You decided to go for the primaries for the 15-minute race. Had you done much running with them for that amount of time? And I suppose how did the deg go as you got towards kind of like the last 5 minutes?
Well, I only started to practice at 8:30, so I didn't get much running before it. But no, the dig in the last few laps is awful. But I think by the time you get at the start, it's maybe worth it. But I don't know. I'll see how this race goes. I might stick this off and see. I don't know.
Well, it's a funny one because obviously you're starting P7 now for the reverse, so you can't really get an opportunity to put down the time as much. Are you better off? Are you kind of better off just taking the primaries and trusting that you're not going to make a huge amount of time at the beginning with all the traffic, but then as the things start to open up, you'll have an opportunity to kind of really stretch the legs then for the last 10 minutes.
I don't know, because if everyone else is going hards, like the hards are so significantly slower in the first win of lap. So if I'm on softs, then hopefully, like this is all going well, you can make a good couple of positions and start to pull a gap. Like the gap that race was 16 seconds or something to third, so hopefully we can just sort of get a few moves. Hopefully maybe a wee bit of carnage in there if we can avoid it, but we'll see what happens.
Well done, Sean. Second place. Great result for yourself, and thanks for joining us. Speak to you soon.
Good man, hey, cheers.
So Sean McClements, and I thought we were going to have an opportunity to speak to Conor Melia, but he seems to have jumped back out of the interview room. We've run out of time. We spent too long talking to Ronan Doherty. I think we're going to have to ban Ronan Doherty from the interview room at some point because we end up talking to him every week.
No, that was a good interview with Ronan. He gave us a good bit of insight in Heat 3 here. I think, anyways.
Well, I just anyway.
No,
okay.
no, don't get me wrong. Total waffler, but just not tonight.
It's just every week. Since we end up speaking to him every week, it would be be nice to speak to somebody else. Anyway, Andrew Murphy on pole position in the final race. So the admin on pole, I suspect everyone will form an orderly queue behind him and not race him at all. Followed by David Ward in the 69 car. Then it's Dylan McClements in the 88. Great opportunity for him to get himself back on track. Peter McCann in fourth, followed by Campto Chukra, then Conor Melia, Sean McClements, and Ronan Doherty, who is far and away the fastest so far this evening. Tony Stack, followed by Jason Smith, who has an opportunity here to try and make up some ground. Very disappointing second race for him. Then Ken Doyle in the Lynx Motorsport 25, followed by Gary Corcoran in the red and white 18 machine. And then going down the line from there, we have Emma Dempsey, Wayne Douglas, Kevin Joyce, Jamal Gandor, Phil Upson, Simon Hutchings, Evan Walsh, Dara Halley, and Danny Dempsey, who I'm not sure is gridding because I didn't hear his name so far. We're just waiting on Phil Upson to take the grid, and then we'll be good to go for this final race.
Yeah, Andrew Murphy on pole position in the famous words of Eddie Hearn. How'd you fluke that one then? He'll be starting from the front row. We'll be looking for maybe a similar race to Evan Walsh last week. Evan started on pole, finished in 6th, led the opening lap. Or no, didn't lead the opening lap, sorry, was in the podium places on the opening lap and had a pretty good time, I think. So Andrew will be looking for a positive result. It's not been the greatest season in the world for one of our admins. Sits 11th in the championship, but a lot of those results have been a mix of skill and luck. Very surprised how many drivers have gone for the alternate tyres here. This, I think, is our first Heat 3 that's had quite a significant split.
Yeah, it is quite a big difference. Again, Peter McCann in the primaries, I think that's the right call, personally. I know a lot of the other guys are afraid that you might get left behind, but it's hard to put the rubber down initially when you're battling in traffic. But when things start to clear up and people start to have accidents and the road starts to get a lot more clear in front of you, then it's a great opportunity to really open up, and those last 5 minutes could prove absolutely crucial for the 20-minute running, because we're already hearing that Deg is off the charts in the last couple of laps, but it's only going to come back for a certain amount of time. Now this is interesting. David Ward is speeding up and slowing down. We saw a big mistake from Jason Smith in that in the beginning, but he's holding off now as we get ready to go for the final time this evening at Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, final race of this evening here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Course. We have a mixed tyre choice. We have a lot of quick drivers starting down the order. Ronan Doherty and Jason Smith. Sean McClements as well has been fabulous on pace tonight, so keep an eye on them. And it's a real mixed bag everywhere else between. Dylan McClements will be looking for a positive showing here to keep his championship on track. Came into tonight with a fabulous lead. Will want to hold that. The pace car's going to pull away as we're heading in towards the carousel. It's Andrew Murphy versus David Ward in the front row, and Andrew Murphy's got a cracker of a getaway. Has caught them all napping very early on. Has to slow it back down though, it seems. And now he'll put foot to the floor once again. That's bunched up the whole pack. Andrew Murphy gets us racing here at Mid-Ohio, but the rest of them are all bunched up. David Ward, Dylan McClements steady through in second and third. Peter McCann in fourth, and that's Jason Smith gone flying off into the gravel. Disastrous start to heat number 3 for Jason.
Oh, disaster. It's been a disastrous evening for him overall. Superb livery, but unfortunately the driving can't match up to it, as Ronan Doherty already into 6th position here. Campto and Sean battling. Sean making up that position into 7th. So the front runner is already starting to put pressure on. But for Andrew Murphy up front, he is managing the gap there nicely with David Ward. There is a train behind him. I suspect Dylan McClements might start to get a little bit more racy to try and get in front as he can, knowing full well that his cousin and his brother are down the road and only eager to join him up front. Now, there's a bit of a wobble there from Peter McCann in the background, but he managed to keep it all together as Dylan tries to go around the outside here of David Ward, but it's not going to quite happen for him. Two very similarly coloured cars, but two very different championship ambitions, as Dylan manages to go around the outside as we start to finish the opening lap. And what a superb move from Dylan. He was sticking it in there the entire way around and managed to get the move closed off. McClements into 2nd position.
Yeah, there was a big move around the outside from Sean last week. That's a big one here for Dylan McClements. Gets up to 2nd spot as there's a bit of a train ongoing. Conor Melia dives down the inside of Peter McCann. Ronan Doherty's boxed in here. He'll go for the toe of McCann on the primary tyres. McCann weaves, decides to defend Melia here. Probably knows that his fight is more with Conor than Ronan Doherty. He's going to stay in front of the pair. Where's Ronan Doherty going to pick his car? He's going to brake early. Conor Melia dives down the inside. Cutthroat from Melia. McCann has to back out. Ronan Doherty might go for it around the outside here. He absolutely has in towards Thunder Valley. Brilliant move from Ronan Doherty. The two Team DDR cars putting on a bit of a show. Contact made. Douglas Ward. Douglas spins in front of the pack. Has he collected anyone? Yes, he has. One or two have to cut across the grass. Think most have got away with it though.
Yeah, it sounds like a compensation for him, Douglas Ward, and I'm sure that Wayne will be looking for some compensation for that accident, getting spun at the top of the hill, and his race is over. This man is desperate for an All-Ireland final ticket. He is completely sacrificed this evening in a bid to try and get tickets for the Hogan stand, and it will all unfortunately be in vain when Cork win on Sunday. Dylan McClements goes into 1st position. He's now overtaken, and look at this, Ronan Doherty already up into 3rd, and for Ronan, I think with his speed, it's so interesting because I think guys in front of him know how quick he is, and they know just to get out of his way because it can't end well for them. So Ronan slipping through already into 3rd position. Sean McClements in 5th, Dylan in 1st, but I suspect those DDR guys will start to get together over the course of this evening as we get further on into this race.
Yeah, I've been watching the pit lane in that nice fancy media sector, begging track owner Jim Truman, just give us a Hogan stand ticket. Not taken to this race, unfortunately. Let's have a look at this Gantry TV replay. Then we haven't had too many tonight. We'll have a look at this one here. This is the Wayne Douglas moment that he got caught up in. It was David Ward rejoining the circuit, and that caused a bit of a kerfuffle, and then they were side by side. The rejoin mostly safe for Douglas, but I'm not too sure about the rejoin mostly safe for David Ward, but I'm not too sure about everything after that. This is what happened to Evan Walsh. Oh, dearie me! Up and over for a 2nd time tonight. That's what happened to Evan Walsh. It's not by choice he's in the pit lane.
Oh, that was that's dive wrong, Devin. Devin Walsh there now. My apologies. A really
Over the black
nasty
spot. Lovely
accident
point.
for him. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like a sideline cut. As Dylan and Ronan, Dylan facilitates. Sorry, should I say Ronan Doherty overtakes Andrew Murphy into second position, and it'll be interesting to see whether Dylan does facilitate Ronan overtaking because he knows he has the pace, but Dylan obviously very much still harbours championship ambition. So how will the Team DDR drivers work this one? Andrew Murphy, I think, just using his experience to allow those guys through. But he will have Conor and Sean McClements behind him, and two of these guys are very quick. They obviously were in the podium places in the second race, so it's a difficult one for Andrew. This is a hard circuit to try and hold on to positions. There's really, it's it's not kind of tight and awkward and bitty. It's very free flowing, and when you have the pace here and you can extract those little extra tenths, makes a huge difference. You don't get bogged down in the traffic, so it's much more difficult for Andrew Murphy to try and hold a position. But he is P3 at the moment as we hit the quarter mark of this race, as that's going slightly wide of Sean McClements, which in turn maybe opened up the door for the Ivory Coast native Conor but can't quite get the job done. Not it's there's so many various iterations on screen of the tricolour. You have Conor flag on the left-hand corner. You have the correct tricolour on the back of Dylan McClements' wing. You have the incorrect one on the halo of Melia's car. There's probably another one somewhere on screen that I can't see. We seem to, Motorsport.ie is the colours anyway. Very patriotic scene for you.
Yeah, absolutely. As Conor Melia will be looking to get past Sean McClements, and Sean is being held up here by Andrew Murphy. He's going to have to try pull off a move similar to Dylan, but he's on the outside line. Oh, there's a bit of a wobble through the corner for Sean. He's going to still chuck it down the inside of Andrew Murphy. Murphy hangs it round the outside through there. Are they going to be side by side in towards the first corner? Sketchy stuff here, but Sean McClements has that inside line, is able to carry more speed, and Andrew Murphy just sits behind for this one. Is he going to let Melia through here? I highly doubt it. Conor Melia looks to send it, but Murphy goes for the defensive move. A little bit late potentially for Andrew Murphy, but he'll stay in front. He has a moment anyways, catches it well, but allows Conor Melia and Peter McCann through, and they will take that. Capto Chukwa is going to follow past here as well.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for Andrew. It's just a very difficult position for him, as Dara Halley now and Kevin Joyce, two men that really should have been further up this grid, battling with Jason Smith. These are the three guys who really should be up the front, have the pace to be up there, but just got involved in incidents, whether their fault or not. In terms of Jason Smith's fault, unfortunately for him, a lot of it has been inflicted. But for Conor Melia at P3 in the last race, he's P4 at the moment, and I suspect he is pulling away slightly from from Peter McCann behind him. I just started to look at that gap, and it does look like it's starting to extend very slightly. So Melia making use of those alternate tyres, but that could come back to bite him later on in this race. Keeping an eye on the push and pass as well up the front. Dylan still has 142, Ronan Doherty on 137, but Sean McClements on 107. He's the outlier there, with still quite a lot of that used. Tony Stack is in 8th position in Team Whiskey. A slight mistake in the last race which put him out of the top 10. He now has David Ward down the inside in the Demon Tweaked car, and Ward gets the job done. That's a good move from Ward, who started near the front and has unfortunately fallen away back, but has managed to retain back into 8th position. But unfortunate for him, I mean, he started in P2 to David Ward, so a bit unfortunate for him to be further down. Obviously found trouble earlier on. Here's Jason Smith attacking Ward. 7 minutes, just 8 minutes gone on the clock, 12 minutes to go, as Kevin Joyce and Tony Stack swap positions in the background. And this is a feisty little battle, Evan, isn't it, Evan, for 10th position?
Yeah, absolutely is. It seems like Tony Stack is running something similar to a Graham Rahal livery, of course an Ohio local, and has won around this track before. I want to say 2009, but I know Johnny Hollywood's probably going to correct me in a few minutes, and rightly so. Tony Stack putting it up to Kevin Joyce here, and Kevin has had some great pace, so this is a real testament to how Tony has improved across this season. Dylan McClements, Ronan Doherty. Ronan has taken time out of Dylan McClements on the previous 3 laps, did a 107.9, then did a 108.3, and then followed that up with another 108.3. So he's taken about 5-6 tenths out of Dylan McClements across the last 3 laps, and you imagine they will come close very soon. I really hope they battle. Team DDR have been fabulous in terms of working as a team time and time again, but Dylan and Ronan are the two in a championship fight. It's almost no one else at this point. I would like to think they're going to go battling.
Yeah, I mean, look, why not? I mean, the two of them are up for the battle. If you both lose out, then you both lose out. There's quite a bit of a distance now between both Ronan Doherty and Dylan McClements, and indeed the rest of the pack. So why not have a go off each other? Why not have a bit of a battle? I mean, we're getting into the second half of the season now. It's time to start asserting your dominance for the rest of the championship. And if you come out on top on this one, it's a big mental tick, but also you could force your opponent to do a mistake, which could see them go further down the ranks, which could affect their overall points places. So Jason Smith using the inside line there to just ease Ward out the outside, and Ward taking the the Dylan McClements line through the opening corner there, but managing to hold on to it a little bit better than McClements did. But speaking of that, he's still doing really well. Emma Dempsey now gone into the pits. She is going in for a fast repair, is she? I suspect. Let's hope Jamal Gondor isn't wrapped up in that. He is going to overtake her now, though, so I suspect it wasn't the two of them, but you'd almost be afraid. Was it all on her own, I wonder? Was it for the number 2 car? She comes around and loses it. Yeah, and then a tank slapper on a big smack against the tyre barrier with her right rear tyre, and most certainly that's going to require her up there.
You can clearly see the point where Jamal hits her, just coming through the left-hand side. He was just parked there on the left, and it's clear as day. But yeah, disappointing for Emma Dempsey. Start of the season, her pace was really good, especially Watkins Glen was really good as well. Unfortunately, did make contact with Jamal that day as well. But we'll say no more on that. It's just an RTA tradition at this point. We have our own small traditions. This has become one. So we're over halfway through this race, and it's still McClements who leads.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's nice for Jamal to have regular contact with a woman, but that's just not exactly what we mean. You know, that's not kind of what we're talking about. So it's just not.
Good thing he's not running the livery that he ran the last time we raced him in Ohio. If you know, you know, folks.
I'm going to leave that one parked right there, which is exactly where Jamal was parked when Emma hit into her. So yeah, Dylan McClements 1.2 seconds ahead of Ronan Doherty. Now, interesting, brother Sean said that he was holding pace with Ronan for the vast majority of the race, but it was in the latter stages when Ronan started to pull away. Dylan, as we said, Doherty, you can see it there on the screen, he's getting about a tenth, but last lap was 2/10. All of a sudden then it's 3/10. So still 1.2 down the road. He's going to have to get close enough to pass, and then he's also going to have to pass. So we'll see what sort of a defence Dylan McClements will put up. But there is around about maybe 6 laps left, if I'm doing a very rough estimation. 6 laps at about a tenth to 2/10 would take you almost inside the second range, but how much more time will you need to pass? So I suspect we could have a last lap shootout between the two of these, which I think which is what every single person watching this wants, right? Am I right?
100%. I don't think anyone wants to see a stalemate between Dylan and Ronan, and I don't think they're going to provide one. This is Jason Smith just attacking Andrew Murphy now, the 2 gold-coloured cars rounding in through the right-hander and heading up the hill. You would like to think Jason Smith is going to dispatch Andrew fairly quickly, but Andrew has put it up to some of the quick runners here tonight. This is where Sean McClements managed to get past. Is Jason Smith going to do something similar? Carbon copy as of now. He runs a little bit wider and decides to tuck in behind Murphy, heading down towards turn number 1. Still that little bit too far back, but I imagine there's going to be a dive in towards the keyhole.
Yeah, I mean, look, Jason is not going to be afraid to send it, and he is making up for lost ground here in the 26 car. He's well out of the championship standing at this point, so doesn't harbour any championship ambitions, but he does want to try and win a race. There's a little bit of a kiss there on the back of Andrew Murphy as Jason has to go defensive. Thankfully the car didn't lock up there. Andrew is just about out of push to pass, so he's a bit of a sitting duck here for Jason Smith, I think, in the number 26 car. So I think it's just a case of Jason lining him up and using the push to pass on a straight. He should get past fairly comfortably. Speaking of push to pass, we're looking at Peter McCann. He's starting to use up some of his He's 3 seconds now, as that's going to be a move from Jason Smith. He's going to get it done here as Smith. I think Andrew Murphy knows discretion is the better part of valor as we go through the S's. Jason Smith up to 7th position. So overall, it's been a disappointing evening for him, but can make up some ground nonetheless. Just keep an eye on that gap up front. It's now 1.3 seconds between Dylan McClements and Ronan Doherty. So Doherty isn't making the inroads that we were expecting. Maybe a mistake on the last lap, we're not sure, but he does have lost, you can see there on the graphic in front of us, very well provided by our broadcast director Ronan Hederman on the ball as ever. Was up 2/10 in lap 10, very slight improvement in lap 11, and I suppose he probably feels under pressure now to try and push the tempo a little bit, and perhaps making a slight mistake this season now, losing a 1/10 of a second. And Dylan looking very comfortable here. We were anticipating a potential hat-trick, but it's not going to happen if McClements keeps driving the way he is.
Dylan and Ronan were comparing the data last week after Daytona, and it's actually scary how close those two are in these cars. I think qualifying last week came down to minimum speed through turn number 1. Dylan had 120, Ronan was like 119.5 or something stupid like that. They've been within a 1/10 of each other for the last 5 laps in this race. Ronan Doherty dipped into the 7s once. That was the only time they really weren't close, but even Dylan's personal best is still a 1:08.0. Last time round, 1:08.4 for Dylan, 1:08.5 for Ronan. So these alternate tyres have not dropped off yet. We're 15 minutes and 30 seconds into this one. Sean was complaining about them at this point in the last heat, so interestingly, they've decided to manage them that little bit more, and they're still feeling okay. They're even, pretty much even, when it comes to the push to pass.
Yeah, very, very, very similar races altogether. You can see Ronan's fastest lap is a smidgen faster than Dylan, but Dylan's last lap is pretty much on pace. So yeah, matching neck and neck, and Dylan has that, obviously, that interval. But nonetheless, even if he loses out to his championship competitor and family member, younger family member, Ronan Doherty, it's still, Evan, been a fantastic evening for the 13 machine. A double race win in the 2nd place. I mean, it's pretty much almost as perfect as you're going to get, and to win the 2nd race by over 5 seconds really shows you his potential for the rest of this season.
Like last lap round, Dylan McClements 1:08.343, Ronan Doherty 1:08.312 in after 16 and a half minutes of racing on degradable, very degradable tyres, as a matter of fact. This is usually a deciding factor in IndyCar, and that is traffic, and it could well be a deciding factor again. Jamal Gandor has held up Dylan McClements a lot in that sector. IndyCar rules, of course, no blue flags. You do not have to let them through. It is the responsibility of the quicker driver, and Ronan Doherty has caught 4/10 of a second to Dylan McClements. Dylan cannot get past Jamal Gandor here, and this could be the cause of his demise. Ronan now within his 5/10 of a second as Dylan unleashes himself. Now Ronan has a chance. He's in the slipstream. This is going to be a fight for 3 minutes.
Yeah, I know Dylan is a young man, and therefore really swearing shouldn't be part of his vocabulary, but I do not blame him if he has launched a hurl of profanity. As Ronan Doherty going slightly wide there. What?
Hurl? Evan Walsh? No? Sorry.
No, sorry. No, I'm not on the same wavelength at all with you there. No, in terms of... just like for Jamal, I know you say that blue flags aren't, there's no obligation to move over, but like Jamal is in 15th position and he has a battle for P1 and P2 behind them. Just get out of the way. Just leave him battle. I just don't see the...
It's a very IndyCar thing to be that obnoxious and get in the way of 1st and 2nd. So Jamal is just sticking with the friends.
Yeah, he's cosplaying a typical IndyCar. He's doing his Simon Pagino cosplay and essentially just being as much of a dick as he possibly can on track. Not content enough is he to take out Emma Dempsey. He now wants to slow down the leaders. No, that's a bit of a contact. And that was a slow motion accident between David Ward and Dara Halley. You see if Halley gives back the position to David Ward, because he was a day late, a dollar short, as Martin Brundle would say, into that accident. So he probably should give the place back up to Ward. But yeah, Dylan McClements now has 5/10 as opposed to, look at that difference, almost 6/10 of a second lost to Jamal Gandor's feck arsing about. in lap 15, but he's managed to right the ship again as Dylan, and he has good pace here. 3/10 now between them, so Ronan is starting to gain back, and we do have that battle, although not for the reason that I think we were hoping for.
There is going to be one final attack here potentially from Ronan Doherty, but look, apart from that outlier of a lap, they've been within 5 thousandths every time. That's ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. Here we go then, we'll have one more lap after this one for Dylan McClemens to defend. Defensive masterclasses have certainly been a trend for his successes in RTA. Simon Hutchings is in front now, and Simon gets out of the way. Good sportsmanship from Simon, he's going to let us have a fight here.
Good man, Simon. That's how to do it. Somebody should take notes. Anyway, here's Dylan McClemens in first. And you might think I'm being overly harsh on Jamal, but seriously, like, you're in 15th place. Just get out of the way and leave first and second battle. Like, seriously, what do you have to gain by blocking the leader? Anyway, Dylan McClemens, 5/10, and barring a mistake here, Evan, he certainly has the pace. And to be fair to Dylan, a very well-deserved victory if he does manage to get across the line here, because Ronan was really putting a bit of pressure on him there, but Dylan just managing the tyres exceptionally well, not over pushing, not over driving the car, and finds the pace that he needs in these last couple of minutes to hold off his cousin.
Yep, Ronan's burned all his push to pass, meaning Dylan's got to climb up towards the hill, in towards the carousel for the final time, and bar any mistake, in through these final couple of corners, it is going to be a third Heat 3 win of the season, and a third win of the season, or fourth win of the season for Dylan McClemens as he rounds through the final corner on a day that's not been too good for his championship. He redeems himself in fine fashion and beats his teammate Ronan Doherty in an artistic performance of consistency. Sean McClemens comes home in third. It is a second Heat 3 podium lockout for Team TDR. Jason takes out Peter McCann in through the carousel. Campto Chugua goes through. Peter will only lose one position because of that one, but I imagine the angry words will stem further afield from lap traffic problems.
I mean, that's just ridiculous, Carry-On, isn't it? Sorry, no, but like, launching himself. I mean, obviously, I know it's last lap, and you want to have a you gotta have a move. It's last lap and that, but like, you can't just launch yourself into the back of cars because you're trying to, you know. I know it'll probably laugh at awful Jason Smith, but there's some pretty poor driving in these last couple laps. There's been some exceptional driving this evening, and that's what we should focus on. But we can't forget that there has been some pretty poor driving, and I really hope the stewards to have a look at some of the incidents that happened this evening, particularly that last one with Jason Smith. Like, it's just nonsense. It doesn't look good on stream. It doesn't look good on the week. It doesn't do anybody any favors. Yeah, not good for Jason Smith. But anyway, Dylan McClemens, our race winner. Evan, do you want to have a chat with him as we get in? We once again, it's a DDR 1-2-3 as well.
Yes, absolutely, and it is Dylan McClemens who takes that win. Ronan Doherty in second, Sean McClemens in third, Conor Mealy in fourth out of Campto Chugua with Peter McCann, and then Jason quotation mark Santino Ferrucci end quotation mark Smith. Andrew Murphy comes home in eighth, Kevin Joyce in ninth, David Ward in 10th, and it is Dara Halley, Ken Doyle, Tony Stack, Simon Hutchings, Jamal Gandor, Phil Upson, Emma Dempsey, Gary Corcoran, Wayne Douglas, and Evan Walsh rounds out the top 20. Let's hear from your race winner, Dylan McClemens. Dylan, congratulations. A fourth win of the season for you here in the IndyCar. We'll start back in heat number one, though, if that's okay. Things went astray pretty quickly, a bit of a moment in through the first corner.
Yeah, I didn't get a great start, and I saw Jason come up my inside. I was going to try hang it on the outside, but I was on the marbles with cold tires and just I didn't rate it well, and got wing damage from there on, so it didn't really help my race.
Heat 2, though, you fought through the wing damage, managed to gain a lot of positions, and of course that gave you the great grid position for heat number 3. Did you know that there was a win possible when lining out for the feature race?
Yeah, I did, but I didn't know how I was going to drive, because the first two races I had a wing, so I was going to have to adjust for a good couple laps to get back in the swing of it, but I knew there was an opportunity starting so high.
Then late on in Heat 3, yourself and Ronan were matching lap times identically. I don't know if you saw it on the telemetry, but practically identical. And then a bit of lapped traffic. What was going through your head when you saw Ronan gain time on you so quickly?
Yeah, no, I knew the lap traffic was there, and one of them got third, and I know I got a bit mad, but I can see from Jamal I was too far behind for him to come back, but it worked out well anyway at the end.
Championship definitely on then?
I don't know, it depends about the points I've made tonight, but I don't think they're that great compared to most times.
Dylan, congratulations. Fabulous win. And I can't imagine it'll be too long until you're back with us.
Alright, cheers.
And now second place with his bi-weekly interview with Kevin, it is Ronan Doherty.
Now, Ronan, yeah, I'm going to keep this quick because, well, a bit like yourself, I'm going to keep it quick because this is your second time with us this evening. Second in race 2, it all worked out fairly well for you. So these feature races can be a little bit touch and go, starting from near the back, but you managed to clear traffic fairly quickly, and then it just didn't quite have enough with Dylan, despite the fact that Jamal Gandor did his best for you.
Yeah, Jamal cost Dalton 5/10 there, and it was a crucial point of the race because before that I was catching Dalton at about a tenth a lap, maybe 2/10 like some laps, and then I got to that 1.1, 1.2 seconds, and I was just in his dirty air, and I think he was driving better then too, so I wasn't going to reel him in. Then Jamal gave me the opportunity to get back into two. So yeah, maybe another couple of laps we could add a scrap, but no, all credits to Dalton, like he's came on a lot, as you can see, and there's a real driver's track as well, so no, fair play to him.
Yeah, I mean, but looks like the two of you are going to go neck and neck in the championship. We've seen DDR in the past use teammates. Does that go out the window now with the two of you? And who is going to be trying to get Sean McClemens on their side?
I think I'm going to be fairly hard pressed for that one, considering their siblings. But who knows? Maybe I'll throw him a few curly whirlies like that. Always get Sean on your side a bit too. But no, like we'll keep working together, the three of us, in qualifying and stuff, and then just race clean.
Great stuff, Ronan. Look, it's been a brilliant night for your championship credentials, and we're really looking forward to an inter-familial scrap for the championship. Congratulations, a P2, but after 2 wins. It's been a magnificent evening. Congratulations, and talk to you soon.
Cheers, lads, and thanks for the broadcast as well.
So that is Ronan Doherty, and finally we will have the man who will no doubt be getting a lot of curly whirlies in the coming weeks. It's Sean McClemens. He's speaking with Evan Dalton.
Yeah, Sean, congratulations. A lot of attention being put on Ronan and Dylan, of course, as per usual, you would say, but due to their championship fight. But your pace really coming on in leaps and bounds in recent weeks. It's another podium here tonight. Where has this extra motivation and pace come from?
I don't know, just a lot of hard work in the background, and I don't know now, to be honest. It's the car sort of suit me a wee bit better than the tin top, so well, actually wasn't too confident coming into the night. It was a few 3-4 tenths down, so I didn't really think it got on too well. But then qualifying happened, and I qualified 4th, and then it was just really just a bit staying out of trouble then. So yeah.
Heat 3 in recent weeks has seen you pull off some big moves. Another big one on Andrew Murphy tonight. Talk us through what's gone through your head on that one.
Well, it was thankfully I was behind Connor the lap before, and that's actually how I got past Connor. Andrew seemed to stop up big time in the last corner, and I knew that going into it. So I got alongside him just at the braking zone and thought, well, it's now or never. Like, so just sort of sent it around the outside. Now it was a hairy moment. Like, I got a few hits in the exit, and then even down the straight, he hit me a few times. Like, it was quite scary. But apart from that, like, I just thought, sure, go for it and see what they say, see what happens.
Now, you're probably going to give me a neutral answer on this one, but where will your allegiances be lying between brother and cousin if it comes to it in our season finale at Barber Motorsports Park?
Whoever led in the championship, I just We'll be helping.
Oh, that's a
Whoever's
terrible
first,
line.
we'll see what happens. But it'll be Dylan. No, whoever's leading the championship,
Final question: Ovals coming back soon. Are you looking forward to them?
No, Jesus, no. Get me a street circuit. Hey, that's the ovals are boring. You don't need to practice for them. You just send her on the Tuesday night and see what happens.
Sean, thank you very much as always, and a big congratulations. And it's great to have you returning to fast pace.
Cheers, Evan.
So that is a podium interview once again with all our Team DDR drivers. Now the important topic, Kevin, is driver of the day.
Yeah, a controversial choice the last time I was here, so I'm going to keep it a little bit less controversial this evening. I think Kamto Chukra would be my choice. I don't know how you feel about that, Evan, but he has been exceptionally quick, and a couple of top 5 finishes coming back from his leaving cert holiday is a great result.
Yeah, I think that's a good decision. Just to explain briefly to our viewers, usually we go for someone who doesn't win the races all the time, just to give them a bit of an incentive to race as well. Yeah, no, I agree on the Kamto Chukwu shout. Neville Smith saying driver of the day has to be Ronan. If it was regular circumstances, I would agree with him. Ronan was phenomenal tonight. His pace, unbelievable, and it just seems like he's getting better week on week. But big congratulations to Kamto, comes back from the Hollybops and is back performing well.
Yeah, I mean it's we could just give it to Dylan and Sean and
Yeah,
and
probably not
Ronan
Sean.
every week. Well, I mean he's showed great pace this evening, but we could give it to Ronan and Dylan every week, and then we just have a load of drivers of the days that are the same thing every week. So yeah, nice to spread the love a little bit. Another shout for that could have been Peter McCann. He had a pretty good evening, and as did Conor Melia. But anyway, we head out of the corn country and we head down to the slick streets of Long Beach next week on the 22nd of July. We're heading to the state of California. That is preceding the final oval race of the season, the second and final at the Daytona Super Speedway, which will be a very interesting one because it's not even an IndyCar track normally. But the guys have a little bit of practice on it from last week. And then we head to Barber Motorsport Park, which is the real diamond in the rough, according to Evan Dalton, to finish off our IndyCar Championship. Evan, anything to say before we wrap it up for this evening?
Gonna be a good one, folks. Stay with us, that's for sure. We have some great races coming up, and now a brilliant championship battle.
So if you want to keep abreast of what's happening in the championship, you can head to rtavirtualmotorsport.com. Indeed, if you're looking for getting involved next season, you could do the same thing. We will have news of the next season next week, hopefully. And of course, you can head to motorsport.ie for all of the Irish motorsports news. I spoke earlier about how we're quick on bikes and we're quick in cars and we're quick on push bikes as well, apparently. So Irish people just seem to be pretty fast at the moment. But obviously, there's only one place you'll want to be this Sunday afternoon, with your eyes firmly glued as the Rebels go ahead and win their latest All-Ireland Hurling Championship. But until then, and until next Tuesday, have a great weekend. I know I will. Slán go fóill.